Hello, hello. So, first, a little bit of minor context. I'm currently... What am I doing? Gosh. I am currently trying to gather voice work for an animation. When I say that, it means that I can make basically no progress until, the voice part of it actually goes through, because I have no audio to work with. So I'll be waiting on that. I'm also doing the Elden Ring LP, which is, that's going to take absolutely forever because of the nature of how I do LPs, where I'm very comprehensive and I talk about everything, which is shooting me in the foot. But unfortunately, that's what it is. That is like 40 or 50 hours in already. It is a very, very long LP. It's going to easily be much longer than my original Dark Souls LP. And if you can't guess, I'm drawing Rouge the Bat. Although here at the very beginning, I realized partway through, it's like, I actually am drawing Blaze. I wonder why. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to reduce her furls on the back of her head, push those down some, and oddly enough, that was enough. Sonic characters are very, very, very similar to one another in a lot of ways. Anyways. So, a lot of the troubles that I was discussing in, I think, my prior video, it's been a while, but a lot of the troubles that I was talking about as far as live troubles in the prior video, more or less finalized. I feel like things are more or less stabilized for now. We'll see. But yeah, life has not really improved for me, I suppose, but it is back to being the same brand of crummy, which is about what you can ask for these days, huh? Yeah, things don't really improve. They just kind of... what's it called? They stabilize. They reach a something. I'm thinking of a scientific term. Something I've been talking about at my LP lately is how bad my memory is. So one moment I'll be able to completely do words well, whatever that's called, and then the next day, for example, today, no word good at all. But anyways, that's the reason why that I drew Rouge. It's so that in the process of no doing word well, then I would have something to do. I figure that in the process of me doing the LP, a lot of people are not going to have any interest in it. I've had ideas for longer length videos, but they're about specific subjects that I don't think many people would care about in the first place, so I've been trying to avoid those. It's been it's been this weird combination of like busy and not busy at all. Because there's just a lot of crap going on, It's not, there's not much work, there's just a lot of crap I have to deal with, which is getting in the way of everything else. That's what it has been. It's terrible. I hate everything about it, but anyways, it is what it is. Okay, so, in the process of drawing Little Rouge here, I will say there are some specific rules to drawing Sonic characters. One of them is that, let's see, what was my understanding of this? I've been trying to figure out how to draw these characters for years. I really don't have much interest in Sonic as a franchise. A little bit more so since the IDW run started. Like, that I actually do like that, and I like the artist behind it, so I tried to keep track of that. But as far as the games go, especially the games, I just don't care. And the older comics, like the RG stuff, I didn't care about that either. So it's just never been something that's been present in my mind in the first place. Why did I choose to draw Rouge then? I don't know. I was sitting around thinking of what I could do, and I thought, well, nothing's really going on now except for Elden Ring, and I'm doing a shitload of that, and I don't want to think about it. I know people have been wanting me to draw Ronnie, and I want to as well, but so many other people have drawn her so much better than I have, then I just don't really see the point, especially when I'm already saturated in Elden Ring, and I don't want to drive myself completely insane. And I think I just so happened to see a picture of Rouge on my Twitter timeline that someone else had drawn, and I was like, yeah, alright, whatever. So it was just something, it was there. And that's it. And I figured, oh yeah, the new Sonic movie is coming out, isn't it? Well, I guess I'll get behind that. So that's why. There's basically no reason, I suppose. Anyways, you'll notice she only has one wing, and it's because the wings end up being by far the biggest problem in this picture. As far as she goes, anyways. And I'll talk more about that in a second. But the general rules of drawing a Sonic character. First and foremost, when you're drawing a Sonic character, their torso is always a little kidney bean, I guess I would call it. And enjoy me drawing this wing 400 times over the next half hour. Yeah, their bodies are always little kidney beans. They always have that same exact shape. And the little bend in the kidney bean can be more exaggerated or less exaggerated. It kind of just depends. But it's always a little kidney bean. And the length of the kidney bean is always about the same length as their head. Sometimes a little bit less so. It depends on how much you're trying to cheat, I suppose. And you might think, their head is as big as their torso? That's crazy. It is. Yes, I agree. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. But that's how you draw Sonic characters. Also, their heads have a loose sort of almost perfectly spherical shape to them, but they're not quite perfectly spherical. It's sort of like talking about a planet. Like a planet is not a perfect sphere. It's actually like a little bit squashed. So when drawing Rouge's head, you should really like imagine drawing Venus or maybe Mars. Or even the planet Earth. You know, like a planet, right? Yeah, those are planets, right? Yeah, imagine like one of those. And there you go. Here's some early experiment. Whenever I was drawing this, the idea of maybe instead of having her wings be flipped out like that, I was thinking of actually the animated series Gargoyles. If you have not seen that series, it actually is a fairly decent series, aside from the final season. Let's not talk about that. But the wings of a lot of the characters in that show, it depends on who they were. Like Lexicon obviously could not do this. He could completely ingest Goliath, though, and playfully pat his belly as he dissolves his friend. But never mind that. But if they had wings like Rouge here, where they were just, wings on their back, they would very, very often, like, cross their wing arms over their clavicle and make them into little bitty capes. Which, if you think about it too much, doesn't really make a lot of sense. And in Rouge's case, it also doesn't make a lot of sense because they would need, like, an additional joint to be able to do that. Like, imagine, like, your ordinary arms, right? Because I was actually thinking about this the whole time I was drawing it. You have your arms, you have your upper arm, then you have your forearm. The wings are still like that, and the little, I don't know, phalanges parts of the wings that go out to the little triangle parts, those are actually fingers. Those are like finger bones in bats. It's pretty fucked. But those are little finger bones. So the part that you think of as being like the tip of the wing, where it forms a little V, it's at the top of the inverse V, where the little bitty claw would be. That would be like the thumb or the forefinger, or I forget which bone it is. But that would be the hand. So the forearm is the part that attaches to the hand. And then you have the upper arm. So if it's attached to like the back, imagine like your arms coming out of your back and then trying to reach over your own back to like grab a hold of your own clavicle. It would be very, very uncomfortable. Anyways, that's what I was thinking about. That's a great story, Eli. It's fantastic. I'll just take a drink and let you absorb that for a second. Anyways, so kidney bean body, delicious kidney bean body, almost perfectly circular head, but not quite. The biggest problem is probably the mask area, I suppose. Sonic characters have a very rigid design set of parameters for them, which is very unfortunate. Because, what's a good example of this? There's a character named Jewel that I'm thinking of off the top of my head. This is not a criticism of her design. She actually is a pretty little design. I like her, but it's still indicative of this problem with the design philosophy behind characters. She is a beetle. Like, she's supposed to be a beetle. Jewel the beetle. I forget what specific kind of beetle she is. She's a beetle. Just don't worry about it. So, you would think, oh, she looks like a horrible beetle. Like, she has, like, mandibles and, like, multifaceted eyes, and probably just looks horrifying to behold, doesn't she? No, she has the exact same Sonic face that everyone else does. She looks pretty much exactly the same as Sonic's face, except, with eyelashes and different colors. She has that same muzzle, she has the same eyes, she even has a nose. And I forget what that's actually called. By the way, I'm using DaVinci Resolve now. Hold on. Oh, nose. And one thing that I'm proud of with DaVinci Resolve, you could hear me typing just then. In HitFilm, which I was using previously, which HitFilm I've slowly learned is just a raging pile of diarrhea, DaVinci Resolve will keep playing the playback on preview even if you tab out. And anytime that I would look this up, HitFilm's developers, it's not possible. It's just a shortcoming of how exactly the rendering process works. It's just not a thing. People can't do it. It's like, no, the previous program that I used definitely could do that. In fact, HitFilm, you're the only program I have ever seen in my life that has this problem. And I immediately after moving to DaVinci, I immediately noticed, oh, this program also can do that with no problems. It's just HitFilm. Only HitFilm doesn't know what it's doing. The only downside to DaVinci Resolve has been that the filters are not as... there's not as many filters, I guess, in DaVinci Resolve, which I don't really care about, so it's not really much of a concern with me. But the editing process can be a little bit awkward, because every single video editing software always has to be a cute little special snowflake, and has to have their own special way of doing things, even if it makes no sense at all. Like I think in HitFilm, if you wanted to split a track in two, like you have a video file, right? Even if you don't know anything about this crap, you have a video file, it's just a file. You throw it in your timeline, and then there's a big long bar that's like, alright, it's like 10 minutes long. And then it shows you 10 minutes worth of frames, and it's like, here's all the video stuff. This is what it looks like, right? Imagine that. In HitFilm, you would be like, okay, I wanted to cut this in two. Like, the last half of the video is a black screen or whatever. So you're like, I need to get rid of this. In HitFilm, you would just go to that place and then, like, right-click on it and, like, say, splice it here. And that's it. You just cut it in two and then you're done. In DaVinci, it took me forever to figure out how to do this. There is no ability to do that anywhere at all. What you actually have to do is there's a little button that's somewhere. There's a bunch of buttons above the timeline, but there is one little button that looks sort of like a razor blade, and that one you have to like click on it, and then you have to find the location that your current cursor is already at. Like you've already placed the area of the timeline that you're looking at, and then you have to click on that with the other cursor that you have created using the cut feature that you just selected. Which is somewhat easy if you know where the hell it is, but it's also kind of stupid and a pain in the ass. Video editing software, there's never any consistency to any of them. And they all want to do something different because they're all just so much better than one another, and they all have to do things very, very specifically. Anyways, the thing that I was trying to think of, the thing I was looking at, you know a dog's nose, how they have that bit on the end of their nose that we don't have, because we're not vile, disgusting creatures that constantly have wet noses. I think that's called a rostrum. Yeah, usually it's like black in cats. It'll be like pink, or it can also be black, or so forth and so on. But it's the rostrum, I think. Actually, it might be called a rhinarium. Yes, the rhinarium. That's what it is. The whole thing is called the rostrum. Okay, anyways. But the rhinarium. So you can't blame me for my bad memory for not remembering that one. Why in the world would I remember that?
Oh, yes, of course, the rhinarium. I say that every day. I was talking to my mother just the other day about the rhinarium.
All Sonic characters have a rhinarium, even if it makes absolutely no sense at all. So this character of Jewel the Beetle, she has that same rhinarium thing on her face, as though she was like a dog. Or, in this case, a hedgehog. Makes no sense why she would have that. But that has just become... This is the rule of how exactly you draw Sonic characters. They always look exactly like this and like nothing else. Unless they're like a crocodile or something. And I imagine that the artists that have to deal with this all the time, like the comic artists or the concept artists, probably get pretty irate with the fact that every single one of their characters have to look exactly the same. But unfortunately, because... I think I even complained about that. I think I have some other Sonic videos on this channel, and they all complain about the same things. But Sonic himself, it all stems from Sonic's design. Sonic himself is obviously supposed to be sort of a reference to like rubber hose animation, in a sense, in a very vague sense. Because if you notice, like, Cuphead is another example of this. People have been erroneously referring to it as Cuphead style. It's rubber hose style. They all sort of have that same general appearance. And with Sonic, like, whenever you see classic Sonic these days, as he's called, he has a little tubby body. The original Sonic video games, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, if you might call it that, he's very, very round because that was the whole concept. He was a cute little character that was supposed to be a hedgehog, quote-unquote. Tee-hee, he's a hedgehog, even though he looks nothing like one. And, oh, he's a hedgehog, how quirky. Why would it be a hedgehog? Why is a hedgehog fast? So silly. And that was the whole idea. Like, it was just a joke. But he's a little tubster because specifically he needed to be round shaped because he had to roll into a ball and spin and all these other things. It was just a way of congesting the animation and the art in a way that was conducive for the gameplay. And same goes for like why are his arms tan and his body like blue? That makes no sense. And the great debate on whether or not Sonic's arms need to stay tan or not. To me, his arms look way better if they're blue, but in the original video game, of course, if you're viewing him from the side, because he's a 2D sprite, you can't have his arms blend in with his body. Otherwise, it becomes really hard to read what exactly it is that you're looking at. So that's probably the reason why his arms were tan in the first place, in addition to wearing white gloves. The white gloves also because of the whole rubber hose, Mickey Mouse, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. As well as the fact that his body needs to be broken up in that 2D sprite reason, blah, 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 all that stuff. So as a result, whenever they had the sequels, like Tails looks a little bit different. He actually does sort of look like a fox. And I think whenever Tails was released, actually Tails didn't have a gender. It was just Tails. And I think actually the idea that Tails was a boy came from an American localization of something. It's like a magazine or something. There's some weird story behind it. Yeah, some people actually thought Tails was a girl early on, which continues to this day, am I right? Sorry, I'm thinking of fan art. specific fan art. But yeah, then you have like a character like Knuckles, for example. Whenever people saw Knuckles, I feel like I'm having the exact same discussion that I had in another Sonic video. Why of all things do I remember that? I don't remember anything else. But anyways, whenever people saw Knuckles for the first time, a lot of people thought it like kids in school. A lot of kids thought, oh, it's just a new color for Sonic, like he's red for some reason, because Knuckles looks almost exactly the same as Sonic in a lot of ways. But then it ended up being a completely different character. It's like, oh, he's in an echidna? And of course at the time, it's like, what the fuck is an echidna? Because no internet, right? This is back in the 1990s. But those sorts of decisions set the precedent that whenever you designed a new character, it didn't matter what animal it was. Because it had to be a fun, quirky, cute animal of some sort that really didn't make any sense. Like Sonic, he's the Hedgehog. He's fast, even though hedgehogs are not known for being fast animals in real life. Or Tails the Fox, he can fly. Like, the fox can fly? But that was just part of Sonic's early identity, is that it's just a fun, stupid, quirky way of misinterpreting animals. And then you have Knuckles the Echidna. Like, what does he do? He digs and glides on his hands? Sure, why not? Makes no goddamn sense, but sure, why not? And eventually they kind of stopped doing that. I guess they just ran out of ideas. Or they were like, okay, this is not really funny anymore. Like, Rouge the Bat, what does she do? She steals. And she has wings, so she flies, I guess. Whereas if she were designed a few years prior, it probably would have been Rouge the Bat, like, faces through walls, or Rouge the Bat, it gives you AIDS. I don't know what I don't know, some insipid thing it would have been. You get the idea. But there were bad early precedents set with the Sonic franchise, and those linger on to this day. And part of that is just how they are designed. So as a result, every single Sonic character has to look almost exactly the same as Sonic himself. Which is very, very unfortunate. So to that end, whenever I was actually drawing this character, one of the things I considered doing early on was, I did another video that was also about Rouge the Bat. I think it was a video on this channel. You can go search. Like, I can't remember most of the content that I've made. But it was a redesign of her, where instead of having the muzzle and all this other stuff, she was completely white for the most part, and a little bit more bat-like. And I can't remember if I attached the wings to her arms or not. I don't think that I did. But that sounds like something I may have tried to do. And her colors were a little bit different. She also had a slightly different outfit. I think I put her in like the Sonic Riders outfit or something. Anyways, I considered just doing that design again. But I thought, nah, I mean, I've already done it once. Plus, I feel like there wouldn't be any real point since I've already done it before. Plus, the movie's coming out, and that's not going to track with everything else. It has nothing to do with anything. So, yeah, let's go to this. I did give her this new outfit. This is not based on anything, if you're wondering. It's just, I was looking at different outfits of hers, and I thought, I'll just do something new. Because part of it was that since I'm going to rest her wings on her body, I thought, if I just draw her in her normal outfits, then the line work is not really going to make a lot of sense. Or it's going to create too much congestion. That's one of the reasons why I actually don't like her wings. Like, obviously, she's a bat, she needs wings in some respect. But the fact that her wings are there means that they're always occupying some element of the design. And it's pretty common for people to just not bother drawing the wings. Like, it's just her and there's nothing else there. Or they'll just be out of frame somewhere. Because they really do get in the way. And even if they don't get in the way because her wings are furled out like they are, they have to be, then a lot of the times it actually creates congestion in her design so that there's a lot of emphasis put on her upper body. Because obviously big Sonic head, she's large-chested, and a lot of her upper body's that way as well. It depends on the art. Sometimes her art is, I would almost describe it as being grotesque. And here, as soon as I get into color, this is going to accelerate. There's her body right there. This is a reference I was using. Keeping the line work blue for the time being so I can see what I'm doing. And I was doing this part, I think I was doing this part on stream when I was doing the coloring. Yeah, this is whenever I was streaming on Twitch, showing the last bits of this. Because I was demonstrating to other people how her body is actually a weird bean. And I was actually complaining about her reference up there. Because, like, she really is almost like grotesque because of how incredibly curved it is, while she's still sort of this blobby Sonic character. I feel like they've gotten a better handle of how to deal with her over time. Her design, especially the IDW guys, like I feel like they really nail what she is supposed to look like. Like they retain the sort of femininity and the whole. She's supposed to be sexualized in a very vague way, but not overtly so. And they do a really good job of unifying all those ideas. Anyways, yeah, the original design is kind of warpy. Like she's kind of almost looks like fluid in a trash bag in a weird way. That's too insulting, but you get what I'm going for. So whenever I was trying to create an outfit for her, the main thing was just, alright, heart motifs. The background idea I have is that she just stole something, so it can't be something that's too vibrant, but I still want it to sort of be her color palette. So I figured, well, full bodysuit sounds nice. I don't want to show too much skin, there's no point in that. And everything else kind of fell in place, because Sonic characters always need gloves. It's one of the rules. They always have gloves in some way. Well, almost always. There's a couple of characters that don't, but it's extremely rare. And imagine that the designers get really happy whenever they come across a character that is like a crocodile. Because you can't do the whole Renarium face muzzle mask thing that Sonic has with a character like Vex, for example. Vex is a crocodile. He has to have a crocodile face. There's no way around it. You can't cheat that. So as a result, he has this very interesting, unique look about him, even though there's really nothing that special about him. And he looks good as a result. I like the way that Vex looks. He's not my favorite character, but he is a pretty cool guy. And here I'm doing zoning. I'm trying to figure out what the hell she should look like, because I had no idea what her colors were going to be. I did know that the heart would have to be pink. Her heart-shaped anything had to be pink. So everything else pretty much had to be neutral. One thing I did change about her color scheme is the internal wings. I decided I did not like at all the fact that her... Like, I think it's a missed opportunity. In the interior of her wings could be any color. It's just so boring that it's just out black in gray. It's very dull. Although the fact that they are neutral does prevent it from interfering too much with anything surrounding it. If the interior was too bright, then it would clash with her clothing. And if it was, like especially like neon or something, then it would probably interfere with the surrounding environment, depending on where you put her, as far as the background goes. So even with me here, you notice I made it almost a very, very white, very light luminescent pink. And as a result, I could make it appear to be a bit more neutral while still preserving some of the saturation. So that was my solution to that problem. And even then, it wouldn't really work unless she was wearing the black clothing. The fact that she's wearing so much neutral is one of the reasons why I didn't want it to be gray. Anyways, that's boring. Why am I talking about that? People don't care about that. You want to talk about how big her titties are. Because you're freaks. Yeah, that was a process of doing all this. I'm thinking about Vex's design. I'm actually trying to think of all the different characters that don't fit that criteria. Vex is the only one that really comes to mind, now that I think about it. Because there's like the bumblebee that's with him, and the bumblebee has the same thing. Even though it's a bee, it still has the whole snout renarium mask face. And there's Espio, is his name, the chameleon. He also has the same face, even though he's a chameleon. Like, he's also another lizard. But he still has the muzzle, which makes no sense. And obviously all the cats are going to have that, like Blaze the cat and Big the cat. They're all going to have that. Really, there's not many Sonic characters that are not unique animals in their own right, usually. Sega usually, they do a fairly good job of remaining consistent about that. Like, there's a bunch of cats, but they're different kinds of cats. Like, there might be like a house cat, but there might also be like a lynx. There might be like a tiger, and so forth and so on. Canids are the same way. There's a few dogs, but there's like a wolf, there's a dingo, there's a jackal. Like, they're all different kinds. The only thing that's really an exception to that are probably the hedgehogs, and there are way too many hedgehogs. Like Sonic, Silver, Shadow, what's the other one? The other main one. I can't remember what the other main one is. There's a bunch of like little sub ones as well. The one that's the biggest problem, though, is probably the old Archie Echidna designs. For some reason, Penders was absolutely obsessed with echidnas. I have no idea why. That's a Penders subject. Who knows what's going through that man's head most of the time. But he loved his echidnas, and there were shit tons of echidnas. Even though there is, like, I find actually Knuckles to be one of the least interesting of all the designs, because there's really not much going on with him. He looks almost exactly the same as Sonic in every single way, except the spikes are down instead of up, and he's red. And he has Lego shoes. And that's pretty much it. He has little spikes on his hands, sort of. Which also makes no sense for echidnas, but just don't worry about it. And that's it. That's all that's going on with him. But for some reason, that was enough to be, oh yeah, 1,000,000 of this. Anyways, not a big fan of that. So, I actually have been keeping up with the IDW stuff. That's something I could have done, because I don't have anything of her on the channel. But a character is... In the older comics, there was a character named... what's his name? Scourge, I think is what his name was. And he was another hedgehog, except he was green, and he was really edgy and radical, and he was like the sort of the bad boy evil Sonic. And if you can't tell, I did not really care for that concept. I think even Penders sort of insinuated that he had slept with Amy, or it's some weird thing. Penders was very fond of insinuating that characters were sleeping with each other. He also had his weird self-insert skunk character that supposedly took Sally Acorn's virginity, and he was very proud of it and wrote about it in interviews. He's a weird guy. Like I'll do sort of stuff that's similar to that just because it's funny to me. Like it's a joke, because that's the joke, is perversion, whatever. But actually, like, doing it in a real comic that's sanctioned by Sega until they catch wind of it, that's pretty wild. That's out there. All right, you do you, Penders, until you get taken down a peg about it. What the hell was I thinking about? Knuckles, Echidna. I can't remember that thought. I've completely lost it. I've been having more trouble with that lately. I keep losing my train of thought. Anyways, yeah, there's Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Scourge. Um, there was a character called Scourge, and they're not bringing that character back, thank God. They instead created a new character called Surge. So, kind of a sort of tongue-in-cheek reference to the general idea, at least. And she is... what is she? Surge the... Tenric. That's what it is. A Tenric. I had to go look up what that was, and I immediately forgot what it was. But she is a Tenric. It's another little tiny marsupial thing. But she has that same sort of vibe without it being too annoying. She is green, black, and yellow. And she also has her little buddy, who is also modeled after Tails. And that's the whole concept of the storyline behind them. And they're both very fun. But they have their own sort of like spin-off comic series. It's another short-term one. There was another one called Bad Guys, I think it was. And that's been complete. I think it was only like 4 issues. Thankfully, IDW doesn't seem to be going the way that most comics do, where they have billions of different series all running at the same time. And they all integrate with one another, so you have to keep track of what the hell's going on here and there. As far as I know, they've only had those 3. I think. There's like the anniversary things too, I suppose. That's been pretty much it. But anyways. Surge has been getting... What's the other one's name? Surge and... Surge the Tenric and someone else. I can never remember his name. Like, I remembered Kit. Kit Tsunami, that's what it is, because it's supposed to be Tsunami, but it also, Kit because Fox, etc. He's actually a Finnick. And he has he has a cute design too. Whenever he uses these little water things that he carries with him, then I feel like his design gets a little bit too congested. But other than that, I really don't have any complaints about him. But he's secondary to Surge to me. I like Surge the best out of those two. But anyways, they're a duo that's supposed to mimic Sonic and Tails in their own way. And they were created specifically to be antagonists to them. So that's where their little short comic series is going. It's Surge and Kit both sort of realizing how they were made and all this other stuff. Not going to give anything away, I suppose. But it's very cute. The storytelling and the art style is much more in line with what Sega is probably looking for the characters, as opposed to what it was in the older comic series. Now, a lot of people were upset that they basically killed off the older comic series in favor of sort of this reboot to reunify everything. I actually am glad I would not have bothered getting into any of this stuff unless that actually had happened. So it certainly doesn't bother me. This is a best case scenario for me. So I actually really do like the IDW run. It's worked out great as far as I'm concerned. It's unfortunate that they started They had a storyline about a virus raging out of control that just so happened to... and wiping out the entire population of the planet. That just so happened to start at the wrong time. And that wrapped up probably a little bit quicker than it should have, probably because I felt like they really wanted to get away from that as quickly as possible, because it was just really unfortunate timing. It could have gone better. It's probably less of a concern than I make it out to be, but still, it's still unfortunate. Everyone got out of it fine, though. They were all fine. And of course, I've pointed out not pointed out in the past. In the past, I did, what was this? I did my own little Sonic self-insert, too. Yes. I did it this way. Yeah, there he is. Okay. A long time ago, I did my own Sonic character because I was like, this would be funny if I did my own self-insert, because I'd never do that sort of stuff into other people's series. But I made a character called Gripes the Lynx. It's like, ha ha ha. And he's not a bad character design. My first attempt at him is a little bit weird looking to me now, but he's still okay. Looks very Sonic-esque. I bring that up because I started thinking about the different cats and how there's one too many of them. And something I did notice with all the cats is that for some reason they're always purple. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a thing in designing the Sonic characters as well. I'm sure that there's all sorts of internal rules for how you're supposed to design all these things. But all the ones that I can think of, Blaze, Big, and there's one more, isn't there? I can't remember. But they're always like purple. Actually, hold on. Sonic cats. I'm so glad I can search for things. Yeah, here we go. No, I'll take that back. There's Honey the cat. That's what I was thinking of. Although I think she might be... Yeah, she's another Archie character. But she was sort of a gold color with a red clothing. But I wonder if there's any sort of weird internal rules to that. So when designing your characters, I would say that the thing that I would try to do is to get away as much as possible from the Sonic formula while still trying to stick to it. But I'm not sure how exactly you go about trying to do it. That's one of the reasons why I did the whole Rouge redesign thing, is because I wanted to see if I could actually stick to the internal rules that were being applied to all the Sonic characters. And here I'm going back over the line work, trying to color the line work, while still maintaining the rules of the Sonic characters. The thing I have the most problem with is probably the muzzle. That's by far the thing that annoys me the most about the characters. It's just so limiting, especially when animals are so diverse in the first place. You just end up making everything look almost exactly the same as Sonic himself, which is not very appealing to me. There has to be other characters besides Vex that have that sort of thing going on with them. Yes, there's I forget what he's an opossum. He's from the IDW comics. He's like an evil... Yeah, Clutch. That's what his name is, Clutch. That's a good name, because he's actually a character that... he's a thief. He's like a ringleader for a bunch of thieves. And that's his whole thing, is being sort of not a kleptomaniac, but, just trying to accrue as many things as possible. But he's also supposedly like a really old character that is effectively retired. And he doesn't really want to be in the game anymore, but he still keeps coming back to it. It's like there's sort of a mafia undertone to it. It's kind of funny, but he's also a fun character design. I really like the creativity that IDW's artists put into all their work. To me, that's always been the fun part of doing. Here, I couldn't quite figure out what to do with the snow on the shoes idea. I eventually realized, why am I trying to draw it realistically? One, I can't draw realistically. I suck at it. And another thing is that it doesn't even fit it doesn't fit the art design, the art direction of these characters at all. Why am I doing it this way? Another reason why I decided to go with Rouge, I didn't mention this before, is because I was thinking about doing Ronnie from Elden Ring. And I thought, I don't want to try to do something realistic right now. I feel like have been trying to do that for like the past 2 years, and I keep shooting myself in the foot over and over again trying to do it. Here, I just go to a simple approach. Whereas if I just sort of stick to my guns, as I keep trying to tell myself to do, then things would work out much, much better. And they did. Look at that. Anyways, and designing a new Sonic character, it is fun making new Sonic characters, which is when Sonic Forces came out and they said, oh, we're going to have a character creator. I thought, they don't know what they're getting into. Like, they don't know what they got. Because that's like a $1 million idea. But because it is Sonic Team, I figured, well, they're not going to use it correctly. And sure enough, they didn't. The character creator in Sonic Forces is pretty bad. There are barely any features at all, and here we go, the final picture. And most of the things that you can actually use are just like sort of meme clothing items, just like garbage that you throw on your character. And you don't even have access to them unless you play through all the stages. So like there's a few things that you can't even dress your character in until you get to the very end of the game. So very unsatisfying, and you can actually adjust what your character looks like for the most part. But that's one of the reasons why I was always disappointed. Like, it's the whole thing where you go on DeviantArt, search for your character, or your name plus the Hedgehog, and you will find something. And the vast majority of those, they're just Sonic. They're just Sonic with slightly different colors, or they're wearing different clothes, or they have, like, they're wearing the glasses that person wears in real life. And it's shit like that. I understand the fun of designing a new Sonic character, but it's trying to... The thing that signifies to me a good Sonic character is whenever you take an animal, give them some particular personality element, and then try to unify those things, like Tangle, for example. Tangle the lemur. Like, she's just a lemur, but her whole thing is using her tail to, like, whip herself around, and it's... Like, it really exemplifies her character traits while also unifying that with the uniqueness of that animal. Which is, thankfully, like, if they had done that design in the very, very early days of the Sonic franchise, then it probably wouldn't have been a lemur. What would have been some completely unrelated animal. Like, Sonic, he's the fast one, you know, Tails, he flies, makes no sense at all, he's a fox. But that was the joke. The whole exemplifying the traits of an animal and then using those as personality elements, that to me works way, way better. Then again, if they had been going with that line of thinking, then Sonic the Hedgehog would not have been a Sonic the Hedgehog at all. He would have been like Sonic the Cheetah or something. Like, it would not have been quite as good. Although I kind of now want to draw Sonic the Cheetah just to see what he looks like. Honestly, since all Sonic characters look like the same thing, then Sonic the Cheetah probably will look exactly the same as Sonic the Hedgehog. Except instead of the spikes, those would probably be shorter and be a little bit more like fur. And instead of blue, he would have, Hedgehog, or he would have cheetah colors. He would just be orange and have like 1 or 2 spots. So... not much would probably have changed, honestly. He would look terrible, though. He would look terrible. Thank God for that. Okay, anyways. I've been rambling enough. I'm going to get back to recording 6-hour-long Elden Ring parts that approximately 10,000 people will watch, which I have no problem. I don't know. It's not like I'm complaining, but it's been pretty good numbers, considering. I don't make any money off of them, though. If you're I need to give Plague money by watching these videos. I don't make any money off the channel. Like, off YouTube, I don't make anything. If you want to give me something, you either have to subscribe on Twitch or go to the Patreon. Those are the only ways I ever make any money. Or I guess you could technically sub on Picardo if you wanted to. That's it. Like, that's all that's going on for me. Anyways, if you want to support me, do that, please. Otherwise, just keep watching me draw slightly porny stuff. I really want to get back to the animating, but I still have to wait on resources to arrive, so please be patient as I try to also be patient. Anyways, see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Goodbye, Rouge. Goodbye. Oh my god.